Hello, welcome to Storytime English channel. The Master of Disguise, a tale of vainglory, vengeance, and vindication. Chapter 1, The Fabrication of Mastery and the Seeds of Malice. The court of Vijayanagar, a bastion of culture and intellect under the patronage of King Krishna Deva Raya, was rarely accustomed to outright falsehoods of such magnitude. Yet, on a crisp morning, Chatter Pundit, a relatively minor courtier, stood poised to deliver just such a fabrication. His recent absence, a self-imposed year of seclusion, was meant to suggest an arduous apprenticeship with the legendary, reclusive yogi, a master of root parivartan, or the art of perfect metamorphosis. The truth was significantly less heroic. Chatter had quickly tired of the yogi's rigorous demands, the meditative discipline, and the required humility. He had only acquired the superficial techniques of costume making and bodily mimicry, grasping the shell of the art while willfully ignoring its soul. The yogi, discerning his student's profound vanity, had dismissed him with a grave warning: "You can create an illusion of flesh, but you cannot change the spirit within. Mastery is not for the proud." Ignoring this caution, Chatter arrived back at court convinced that he held a winning hand. He stepped forward before the king and the assembled dignitaries, his voice resonating with calculated authority. "Beloved king," he announced, bowing with excessive theatricality, "this humble servant now stands before you as the complete master of disguise, a Rupkala Acharya. I have successfully completed the years of punishing training and testing required to master this ancient craft. I can transform my physical presence into virtually any form, be it man, beast, or object. And I assure your majesty, the transformation is utterly realistic, defying the scrutiny of even the most learned eye." He was careful to lace his narrative with references to years of training and arduous testing, knowing that verifying these claims against a hermetic yogi was an impossibility. His boast was met with wide-eyed wonder from most, but with cool, analytical skepticism from Tenali Ramankrishna. Tenali, the kingdom's famed poet-jester and chief advisor, saw through the polished exterior to the brittle ego beneath. He knew true mastery expressed itself through quiet confidence, not loud, desperate claims. The king, intrigued, asked for an immediate demonstration. Before Chatter could propose a simple, easily managed trick, Tenali intervened, his voice measured and respectful. "I humbly submit, Your Majesty, that to unveil the perfection of this profound art for mere public curiosity would be a great dishonor to its sacred nature. Such valuable skills of illusion and cunning should be reserved for the gravest matters of state, espionage, and security, not wasted on entertainment." Tenali's move was a subtle masterstroke. It appeared to defend Chatter's honor while simultaneously challenging his motives. This intervention stung Chatter deeply. He saw Tenali, his intellectual rival, attempting to steal his moment of glory and diminish his achievement. His pride erupted into visible anger. "You are merely consumed by jealousy, Tenali Ram. You fear the undeniable proof of a talent you can never possess. I welcome the test. In fact, I will perform a feat so challenging, so overwhelming, that it will forever silence every single critic." His voice rose to a defiant crescendo. "Tomorrow, I shall display the most difficult metamorphosis known to the art. I shall become the king of beasts, a fierce, magnificent lion right here in this court." The court was electrified. The king, enthralled by the dramatic promise, immediately consented. Chatter, seeing his opening, delivered his final, lethal condition, his eyes fixing on Tenali with unbridled malice. I must inform the court that when I assume such a powerful animal form, my human self, my consciousness and soul, is entirely suppressed, entering a deep, trance-like state. I will have no awareness of my mortal actions. I must therefore be fully excused for any aggressive or dangerous behavior committed by the beast, as only the untamed spirit will be present. Tenali Ram, reading the transparent intent for a premeditated attack, merely gave a silent nod, his expression unchanging, silently accepting the rules of this treacherous duel. He knew he had to let the trap be sprung before he could expose the fraudulent trapper. Chapter 2: The Lion's Treachery and the Staging of the Coward. The following morning, the atmosphere in the court was thick with a heavy, fearful anticipation. The entire kingdom seemed to hold its breath. Tenali Ramankrishna took his seat, not with the typical minister's ease, but with a subtle, watchful readiness, mentally calculating the geometry of the hall and the speed of an aggressive pounce. The performance began not with sight, but with sound. A deep, seismic roar, raw and primal, shook the very foundations of the marble hall. A second, more guttural roar followed, silencing every whisper. Then, through the grand processional entrance, an astonishing, lifelike lion padded in. The disguise was truly magnificent, a powerful, flawless illusion. The rich, dark mane, the rippling musculature beneath the skin, the lethal gleam of the metal claws, and the intense, focused stare of the beast all contributed to an absolute sense of realism. The crowd gasped and recoiled, convinced they faced a genuine predator. The terror was momentarily suspended when the beast moved to the throne and performed a perfect, formal prostration, acknowledging the crown's authority. This human gesture reassured the spectators, it is only Chatter Pundit, safely contained within his art. The pacing began, slow, deliberate, a masterclass in theatrics. Then, the deception reached its wicked climax. Ignoring the dozens of closer, more easily accessible courtiers, the lion suddenly launched itself in a direct, calculated sprint toward Tenali Ram. The charge was an act of focused malice, not random animal instinct. Tenali, having prepared himself for this exact moment of treachery, moved instantly, his quick reflexes allowing him to execute a sharp sidestep, narrowly avoiding the main, crushing impact of the lunge. However, the sheer speed and momentum of the disguised figure were too great to entirely escape. The lion's massive left paw swept wide, its sharp, reinforced claws catching Tenali's shoulder. They tore through his robes and bit deeply into the flesh, sending a blinding flash of pain through the minister's body and causing blood to immediately seep into the white fabric. The lion, having achieved its immediate goal of causing injury, made no attempt at a second attack. It spun and swiftly retreated out of the hall, vanishing into the palace corridors. The ensuing scene was chaos. Royal physicians rushed to Tenali Ram, treating the deep, painful gash. They applied salves and tight bandages, confirming the wound was serious but not life-threatening. While the ministrations were ongoing, Chatter Pundit reappeared, having shed the heavy, cumbersome lion suit. He was greeted not with the outrage his violence deserved, but with overwhelming applause from the courtiers, who were utterly mesmerized by the quality of the illusion. Chatter reveled in the adoration, then approached Tenali with a performance of feigned sorrow. "My dear Tenali Ram, I am truly devastated by this. please, forgive me. But as I forewarned, my human consciousness was entirely absent. The chatter pundit was not here, only the primitive, untamed lion spirit was present. I have no memory of the attack, which only serves to demonstrate the terrifying completeness of my mastery. It is the cost of my dedication. He delivered the lie, the alibi of the trance, with smug conviction, believing his artistic immunity was impenetrable. He had successfully inflicted pain, garnered glory, and found a perfect, socially acceptable shield for his vengeance. Tenali Ram, enduring the sharp, pulsing pain in his shoulder, looked at Chatter's triumphant face and knew the immediate threat of violence was less dangerous than the precedent of his successful lie. This deception, if unchallenged, would empower Chatter to harm anyone with impunity. Justice could not be secured through force, but through a decisive, intellectual trap. The counter-challenge had to be perfect. Chapter 3: The Cow's Challenge and the Ultimate Bluff. The moment Chatter Pundit finished his self-serving apology, Tenali Ram rose slowly, holding his bandaged shoulder, his face etched with pain but his eyes burning with focused resolve. He knew he had to challenge Chatter's alibi directly, but not by accusing him of lying, which Chatter would simply deny. The challenge had to be structured to force Chatter to invalidate his own defense. "I am grateful for your performance, Chatter Pundit," Tenali began, his voice surprisingly calm despite the throbbing injury. "And I fully accept your explanation that your soul was absent. But the performance was incomplete. We have witnessed the terror of the beast, now, for balance, we must witness the serenity of the master." He turned to the king, his voice rising with theatrical fervor. "Your Majesty, since Chatter Pundit is the undisputed Rupkala Acharya, capable of assuming any form, I propose a final, conclusive test. Let him transform tomorrow into the most peaceable, sacred creature of our kingdom, the sacred cow. Let him demonstrate mastery over gentleness and domesticity." The challenge was brilliant. It was difficult enough to be impressive, but the inherent docility of a cow removed the possibility of a wild attack. "The cow? Ha!" Chatter boasted, seeing only an easy victory. He believed the danger was past. "The cow is an easy matter, Your Majesty. A simple transformation compared to the lion. Tomorrow morning, in the palace grounds, I shall demonstrate the divine cow." The following day, the crowds were massive, drawn by the twin narratives of the lion's terror and the promise of the cow's purity. A short while later, a beautiful, placid cow, adorned with bells, garlands, and intricately painted horns, ambled gently into the center of the wide palace grounds. The illusion was once again complete, the appearance of the animal utterly convincing. The king was delighted, ready to bestow rich rewards. But Tenali Ram stepped forward, his eyes bright with impending victory. "Behold, Your Majesty. The art is perfect. As Chatter Pundit explained, the man is absent, the cow is present. But let us consider the highest authority. The final seal of authenticity must come from nature itself. Humans can be deceived, animals cannot." Tenali turned to the guards, his voice ringing with absolute, unyielding authority. "Guards! I order you to immediately release the royal bull into the arena. Let the supreme authority of the herd judge this creature. If our massive, territorial royal bull accepts this creature as a genuine cow, then Chatter Pundit's mastery is confirmed beyond any doubt. Do it now. Chapter 4: The Unmasking, the Shame, and the Final Verdict. Inside the heavy, padded cow suit, the silence of the arena was suddenly shattered by the blood-curdling realization of imminent death. Chatter Pundit, who was absolutely conscious and aware, was paralyzed by terror. The trance was a perfect, self-serving lie, and he now faced the terrifying, concrete reality of a charging, massive royal bull, a creature whose territorial instincts and sheer power would utterly destroy the man trapped inside the flimsy suit. The thought of the bull's horns tearing through the fabric and piercing his flesh was a far more profound and immediate threat than anything he had intended for Tenali Ram. His ego vanished in a blinding flash of primal fear. No! Stop! Don't release the bull! Please! A high-pitched, desperate scream erupted from within the cow's body. With a surge of genuine, uncontrollable panic, Chatter thrashed violently, tearing off the cow's elaborate head to reveal his own face, sweating, utterly terrified, and pleading. The bull will kill me. I am here. I am myself. I was never in a trance. I am Chatter Pundit. Stop the bull. The entire assembly, king, courtiers, and commoners, fell into a stunned silence. The sudden, desperate confession was the most profound and humiliating unmasking imaginable. Tenali Ram, his mission accomplished, stepped forward. There is no bull, Chatter, he stated calmly, the calm tone emphasizing the magnitude of Chatter's confession. But I must ask, if your soul was supposedly absent yesterday, lost in a powerful, transforming trance, how is it so violently and completely present today? You were responsible enough to beg for your life, to confess your deception in a moment of fear, yet you claimed you were not responsible for your lion's malicious actions. Where was this awareness, this accountability, when my blood was being spilled yesterday, Pundit? Chatter Pundit, defeated not by strength but by the superior clarity of Tenali's wit, had no answer. He collapsed onto the ground, burying his face in shame. King Krishnadeva Raya, whose expression had hardened from amusement to cold fury, delivered the final, irreversible judgment. Chatter Pundit had not only lied to the king but had also abused his supposed talent to commit a premeditated attack under the cowardly guise of a fraudulent trance. His pride and malice were greater than his fear of the king. The king's decree was immediate and absolute. Chatter Pundit is immediately banished from this court for 2 months, a profound and lasting public humiliation. Furthermore, he is permanently forbidden from ever practicing the art of disguise again. The true power of the court, the king ensured, lay not in the ability to create dazzling illusions, but in the unwavering enforcement of justice and integrity. Tenali Ram, the wounded sage, had secured a victory that confirmed his wisdom and ensured that the pride and deception of a false master could never again threaten the moral order of Vijayanagar.